Here we are going to look at a little bit more detail in the actual particle systems, a little bit more advanced look at it here. We just kind of looked at the basics before. I do have a tutorial, four-part tutorial on how to make fire, and that involves everything from the correct materials to going out and creating instance geometry, where you actually, if you notice this particle system here, when I maximize and I hit play, in the viewport it is actually showing the geometry, and you'll notice it looks like little crinkled papers that kind of are small, they grow and they get big, and when matched with the perfect material does create a nice fire effect. Now you could add smoke in there as well, but following the four-part tutorial will help you to create fire. So if you're doing a reenactment that involves fire or arson or something like that, you'll be able to set your particle system to begin growing nice and slow, and then getting larger and creating it so it moves along your area. So I'll go ahead and hit stop there. But what we are going to look at here is another way. Let's say we wanted to do some kind of plumbing. Now what I did, and I'll go into edge faces just to show you, I went in and took a pipe and removed a section with the Boolean command, and with that pipe I can go ahead and burst off a piece. So maybe I want to show that there was this pipe, and then all of a sudden, boom, this piece goes flying off. And of course it wouldn't fly out nice and even like that. It would actually fly across the room. But then maybe I'd want to go ahead and show water pouring out of here. Now this can get a little complicated, and this tutorial is just going to give you a start. But I have this particle system, which is a spray, sitting in the top here, actually pouring out the side here. And what you're going to notice, I apologize for that, what you're going to notice is a particle system such as spray kind of infinitely shoots out until it finally dies. It has disregard for gravity. It doesn't recognize that, like water, if water was pouring out here, water would start dropping down. So in conjunction with particle systems, and let me go ahead and increase the amount of particles here so we get a better look at that by taking up to 100%. I want to influence this particle system by gravity. And how do I do that in a 3D environment? I have to go in to a different setting. It's not actually in the particle system. I have to go and create a second system of gravity called a space warp. And to make the space warp recognize this, we're going to have to bind it. Binding is the tool up here next to linking. It's very similar to linking. It's sort of the linking of a particle system. Well, it obviously is a linking of a particle system to something such as gravity, or something we're going to learn as a deflector. So our first step here is to go up to create, and where these little waves are at, you'll see space warps. Now there are several different space warps you can play with. We're going to go ahead and mess around with bombs in a little bit, and P-bomb, but you can add wind, all right, which would blow. We can pick the direction of wind. So if I select wind and I come out here and I say I want my wind to travel in the to the side direction here, I can come over here and point my arrow where the wind goes and say I want the wind blowing these particles. Now you notice the particles don't do anything here, but if I take the particles and bind them to the space warp, now as the particles flow, they are affected by the wind. So again, I'll take this back, hit play, the water comes out, I hit play, and the wind blows it. Now you'll notice the fire is not affected by the particle system or by the wave because it is not binded. But let's do that. Let's go ahead and bind that fire, okay, which I'm trying to select, to the wind. I'm having difficulty here in this viewport. But if I click the wind, the actual particle, go to the wind, now as the fire goes, the wind actually blows the fire. All right. Now we simply have to go back in, select delete the wind. Notice that the wind is still there. Okay, until it actually cycles through. So don't get afraid there and be like, oh, wait a minute. Um, okay, so wind is one type of space warp. Now another is gravity. Gravity is just like wind. Gravity points down, right? Gravity pushes down towards the Earth. So by gravity being in there by itself, this particle system does nothing. We hit play and it just stops. However, if I go back to 0, okay, or even bring it out here, and I take that particle system and I bind it to gravity, now as the water comes out of the pipe, gravity takes over. Alright, and just for argument's sake here, I'm going to go ahead and jump back into my super spray, and I'm going to go into my particle generation, and I'm going to display that emit stop time at 100, so that way it flows a little longer. But there we go. And we can influence gravity. We can select gravity and say strength, we don't quite want it that hard. We'll go 0.5. Notice that it kind of slacks off a little bit. So wind and gravity, both great space warps to use. One other one. When a particle system flows, notice it's still infinitely going until it dies. Let's say this pipe burst and we want to show the water bouncing off the floor. Well, another space warp, okay, that we can find under forces is you're going to see something called deflectors. A force, of course, is going to be wind and gravity, where a deflector is going to be just that. A deflector is going to be a plane that we're going to create and define a location. Say there's the floor, and the plane's invisible, it won't show up in the rendering. We want to bind the particle system to the deflector, and it does just that. It deflects. Now, with gravity in the scene, you'll see what happens there, and we'll cut back to 100 again, maximize and hit play. It bounces. So what do we do here? We can up the gravity, which is going to pull it down faster and it's not going to bounce up as much, or we can select the actual deflector and adjust the bounce. Maybe I don't want it to bounce at all. Maybe I just want it to sit there. Alright, so the pipe burst and there's the water flowing on the floor. Okay, so another example of a reenactment, and you could go ahead and put that pipe in here and make the thing burst and show that as well. So particle systems are great, and again, when we do the fire tutorial, you learn how to put instance geometry, but going in and using wind, gravity, and deflectors, you can set up some dynamic animations with little effort.